I feel like we just need to talk about what's going on with the ETH price. It is just absolutely blowing up. So, ETH is up 10 times in the past year, blowing through 3,000. Forbes is calling you, Vitalik, the youngest crypto billionaire.
I don't think that's true.
No?
I mean, I don't know. Like, at least, I think Hayden got there before me. I'm sure other people as well. But
not that you're the youngest. I mean, not that you're a billionaire, but it's not true that you're the youngest.
Right.
Right. I mean, yeah, regardless. I mean, pretty kind of impressive metrics. So first off, how does it feel to just see this kind of rocket ship taking off?
I mean, I think both the price and just all of the other kinds of attention that Ethereum has been getting recently is just a good sign of confidence by the community and by just more and more people from outside of the Ethereum community. It's just, I think we've been seeing a lot of signs that people are kind of starting to realize that Ethereum is this very real and very interesting thing. That all of the work that we've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years around getting proof of stake out, getting sharding out, improving the Ethereum chain in all sorts of ways, fixing scaling and all of these issues, that stuff's actually happening, and parts of it are parts of it have already launched, right? The beacon chain is already running, but it's, the merge and kind of fully bringing Ethereum over to proof of stake is looking very close. And there's definitely a lot of people, I think, who just sort of wrote those things off as something that's just never going to happen. And well, now it is happening. And then at the same time, we're seeing the application space and people start taking things like NFTs more seriously, different kinds of DAOs more seriously, and DeFi more seriously. So there's just a lot of great progress that's been done quietly by the ecosystem over the last few years is finally being recognized.
Yeah, pretty momentous time for Ethereum. It seems like, it used to be a lot about kind of the potential and kind of big promise of this foundation layer, but now it's all becoming a reality with actual users. It seems so right now Ethereum has thousands of people building on it, millions of users, first signs of institutional adoption. What's kind of the big vision? Where does Ethereum go from here when people might feel okay, it already got to the moon, how much further can it go?
No, for me, I think the next thing is definitely just getting Ethereum from where it is now to the point where it's actually doing and being used for interesting things and actually providing real value to people. And there's a lot of just really fascinating and interesting stuff that's been done on Ethereum. People have talked about the DeFi space a lot, for example, and NFTs as just something that's really managed to sort of break out into the mainstream and get a lot of people interested. But then there's all these experiments around decentralized organizations, decentralized governance, proof of humanity type things, proof of participation, and just all of these different gadgets and just different ideas for how people can organize and work together over the internet that are being developed on Ethereum. And it would just be great to see more of those actually break out and turn into something that's just really helps people work together better on a large scale. And I think just NFTs in particular, they're an interesting case because there's a kind of speculative aspect to them, and there is an aspect to them that's not too interesting, but then there's also this big potential of an opportunity to allow groups of people who before just had no business model at all to kind of finally have a business model of some kind for the first time. Potentially this could be creators, it could be artists, it could be charities. So if that kind of vision can be made to work, and things like that actually can be used just as a way to just make positive sum interactions happen that just could not happen before because there are all these useful things that just had no business models attached, and like that's already a great outcome, right? And it doesn't have to be NFTs, right? Like the beauty of Ethereum is that it's a general purpose and there's just so many experiments happening, and like any one of those experiments succeeding would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking of like this recent bond registered by the EIB registered on Ethereum, it seems like that's kind of one very useful thing to have, like these certificates and just being able to register financial securities safely and transparently. Will be huge. Wanted to switch gears now to ETH2. And Vitalik, I wanted to learn more about this change of framing from ETH1 and ETH2 being separate chains into this merge of Ethereum proof of work with ETH proof of stake. And I don't think a lot of, or beyond kind of the like people who follow this every single day, I don't think they're aware of this kind of change in thinking of ETH2. So yeah, can you kind of explain how that shift happened?
Sure. So I think it's important to remember that the Eth2 Roadmap has something that has changed quite a bit over the last few years. So I think the vision around 3 to 4 years ago actually was to just make a new chain that would change a lot of things, that would fix all of the mistakes in the existing Ethereum system, and then add proof of stake, add sharding, and finally come up with some kind of way for existing applications to move over. And I think the roadmap has evolved to become more pragmatic over time in a lot of ways. So especially as the merge has come closer, there have been a lot of these subtle changes toward emphasizing just making it a very smooth transition for developers. So just like as one example, right? Like in the roadmap as it was in 2018, like it would have probably required individual application developers or just individual users to take their assets and move it over from the ETH1 chain to the ETH2 chain. But now, like, there isn't even moving from chain to chain happening, right? Like the two chains are even merging together. And the thing that we call the ETH1 chain today, like that's being renamed the execution chain, right? And the thing called the beacon chain, it's being renamed the consensus chain. And these are not going to be two separate chains, right? Right now, there's two separate chains, but after the merge, the execution chain is going to live inside of the consensus chain, right? So every beacon chain block will contain one execution chain block. So, you'll literally have a chain inside a chain. And the reason why we did this is to just make the merge process as simple as possible and as smooth as possible for users, for client developers, and for contract and application developers, right? Because your experience of Ethereum as a user is not even going to change all that much between before the merge and after the merge. Like you download the software and your experience just interacting with the Ethereum chain looks very similar before and after. The only difference is that before, the Ethereum execution blocks had some proof of work attached, and after, these Ethereum execution blocks will not have any proof of work attached anymore, but instead they'll come packaged inside these beacon chain blocks. So there's a lot of complicated technical wizardry happening in the background, but from the point of view as a user, you don't even have to worry about that as much, right? And so there's a lot of continuity between Ethereum before and Ethereum after. It's not a replacement. It's actually a fairly slow and incremental kind of upgrade where basically the entire ecosystem is being sort of taken from running on top of this older proof of work design to running on top of this newer and very powerful proof of stake design, and then with the ability to add sharding and other lovely things on top. So basically, post-merge Ethereum is Ethereum, right? There isn't this sort of you have 1.0 ETH and 2.0 ETH. There isn't this kind of like you have a 1.0 ecosystem and a 2.0 ecosystem. It just is the Ethereum ecosystem and always will be the Ethereum ecosystem.
I mean, from the point of view of a user, like I'm like, phew, like that sounds so much simpler to not have to transfer assets, to not have to worry about like two different ETHs. And will this new proof of stake chain hold the transaction history of the old proof of work chain?
So that's the one thing that it will not, right? So basically transaction history before the merge, it will still be in this proof of work chain. And at some point, like Ethereum clients are just going to kind of delete the old code and they're not going to speak the old language anymore.
I think the question on like everyone's minds is just when, like what's the latest on a timeline for the merge?
Well, my answer a month ago is still my answer today, which is the optimists are saying close to the end of this year. The pessimists are saying early next year. We'll see who's right.
What camp are you in?
I don't know. I mean, I hope the optimists are right, but like I'm also, preparing for the pessimists being right as well.